Thank you very much, William. Fellow leaders, members of the cabinet, service commanders, representatives of the diplomatic corps and representatives of various organizations here present who are representing the millions of other Kenyans out there, and indeed to all my fellow Kenyans, allow me to take this opportunity to salute you all and to wish every single Kenyan a happy 57th Madaraka Day, a day our founding fathers achieved the right for Kenyans to self-govern. We commemorate this day with fond memories of the struggle for independence and the birth of the Kenyan nation, and with it, the birth of the Kenyan dream. We are further emboldened by the fact that, united in struggle, we managed to defeat a giant nation. And this leads us all to believe that even as we fight the corona pandemic today, our victory over our colonizers should remind us that here too we shall be victorious. Although slowed down by the health crisis and the economic downturn caused by COVID-19, I am further comforted by the teachings of our founding fathers. They instructed us to be our very best at our darkest moment. They taught us not to question in the dark the dreams that we dreamt in the light. And indeed, when our dreams hit rock bottom, they taught us not to abandon them, but to reimagine them instead. They told us that rock bottom is actually a foundation that you can build on. This corona moment we are in, yes, indeed, a dark moment. But the founders of our nation required us to be at our very best at moments like this. And this demand is not a lofty ideal. They themselves practiced it as they fought to bring us self-rule. Fellow Kenyans, self-rule required dreaming heroically, embracing the unknown, and offering to die for an ideal. But this was not an easy feat, as thousands lost their lives at battle. The dream of Madaraka increasingly became nothing but a bridge too far. Yet in their darkest moments, our founding fathers did not abandon the course. Instead, they reimagined it, they regrouped, and they re-engaged differently. Many died before they breathed the air of freedom, but many more lived to witness the flowering of a new nation. This gave them hope that the Kenyan dream is actually within reach, and it was possible. Because of their faith and fortitude, they did fight the good fight, and they won. And out of this, they gifted us Kenya. On this Madaraka Day, we thank each and every one of them for this gift and for their teachings on how to remodel an idea in the face of enormous challenges and raging crisis. Today, therefore, and all future Madaraka Days, I call upon all of us to ponder the state of the Kenyan dream. And in pondering it, we must remember that Kenya is still a work in progress. Similarly, as we reflect on the progress we have made, as we look inwards for self-introspection, we must not over-criticize ourselves. And I say so because in the subconscious mind, we become what we repeatedly do. If we repeatedly feed our national psyche with negative energy, we become an nation of angry and frustrated people. Yet dreams cannot flourish in a negative environment whose main currency is anger and animosity. Fellow Kenyans, this Madaraka Day, I want us all to reimagine Kenyan. More so because COVID-19 has forced us into a situation where we have to reset our national systems. But to reimagine our dream and nationhood, we must also reflect on our history, because history has laws that show us the future. We must begin by asking ourselves a number of questions. How was the Kenyan dream imagined in the very beginning? And how did we come to be? How did the original blueprint of Project Kenya look like? Let us make a historical inquiry in response to these questions. Fellow countrymen, 2 years after Madaraka Day, our founding fathers adopted sessional paper number 10 of 1965. It was entitled African Socialism and its application to planning in Kenya. This was the vision document for our young nation and was full of dreams for the future to come. It envisioned a Kenya with an Africanized economy, an economy largely locally owned, whose industries were producing for regional markets, and in which technology was the light and heat of commerce. A nation that drew from itself for itself. This dream was further articulated by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga in his book Not Yet Uhuru that was published in 1967. The central theme of this book was that independence was not complete until the economy was in the hands of Africans. Jaramogi envisioned a Kenya that was unapologetic about its Kenyanness, a Kenya that could stand on its own feet in a world unfriendly to the African people, and a Kenya that is capable of enterprise and development in fields beyond our shambas. Then there was Tom Joseph Mboya, one of the other founding fathers, who echoed the dream. In his book, Freedom and After, he reminds us that great things are made of a series of small things, and that the making of a nation is the work of many small events and transitions, many small failures and successes. But Tom Mboya's main reflections were on constitution making. Having been involved in the Lancaster constitution making process in the 1960s, Mboya cautioned the nation against constitutional rigidity. In particular, he argued that the Constitution cannot be useful to a country if it is an end in itself. A good Constitution must be responsive to the aspirations of a nation and be a means to a greater end. And if the political architecture provided by a constitution cannot support the growth and progress of a nation, that constitution becomes a cancer to the body politic. On his part, the founding father of the nation, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, imagined a free Kenya as far back as the 1930s, while at Manchester in the United Kingdom. His dream is painted in his books, Facing Mount Kenya, as published in 1938. And in this dream, he cautioned us that the seed of freedom will only take root if our mindset is focused on the right thing. In the business of building the nation, he warned that we must not focus on what has been done, for our focus should be on what remains to be done. And this is so because it is natural. Every time one target is attained, a new one becomes necessary and urgent. The right mindset is therefore a critical plank to making a dream come true. But Mzee Kenyatta made other assertions in his prison notes published in a book entitled Suffering Without Bitterness. Reflecting on his struggles while in prison, Mzee said that if hope will sustain you through fire, faith is greater because it enables you to leap over the fire. The act, therefore, of imagining and building a nation from the bottom up must therefore be an act of faith. And faith, according to him, is the act of letting God know your intentions, but taking charge of the methods necessary to achieve them. Fellow Kenyans, our founding fathers left us with deep teachings and convictions, and now we must summon the teachings as we reimagine our nation today. We have achieved the dreams of the founding fathers as captured in sessional paper number 10 of 1965 and revived in sessional paper number 1 of 1986. Further, I believe we have made admirable progress in the implementation of our own Vision 2030 as my administration implements the Big Four agenda. But truth be told, that this vision comes to an end in 9 years. So the urgency for a new vision, a new dream, is therefore real. Like Kenya in its 50s, the Holy Bible required nations to hit the reset button every 50 years. On the 50th year, we are told, all debts were forgiven, slaves were set free, and all land was left unattended. This action brought renewal to the soul of the nation, healing to the land, and a fresh vision to its people, and they called it the Year of Jubilee. But for us, fellow Kenyans, to craft this new dream and to prepare for the next great leap forward, we need to finish what our founding fathers had started. And this is what we set out to do in our quest to uproot the remnants of ignorance, poverty, and disease in our midst. This inspired my administration's transformative agenda for the nation, the Big Four. And allow me just to give you only 3 examples of unfinished business started by our founding fathers and which we today are endeavoring to complete. The first one is infrastructure, the backbone and the enabler of any economy. And by this I mean roads, rails, ports, and so on. At independence, we had only 1,800 kilometers of tarmac road. This is what our colonizers had built in 78 years of their occupation between 1885 and 1963. This means that all their endeavors for 78 years they only managed to tarmac a total of 23 kilometers a year. After independence, our founding fathers built an extra 11,200 kilometers of tarmac roads over a period of 50 years. This was about 10 times what the colonizer had done. But with better technology, planning, and efficiencies, my administration has built 1,000 kilometers of tarmac road every year. That is 44 times more than what the colonial administration built, and more than 4 times what the first 3 administrations built collectively per year. While we take pride in this achievement, I am cognizant of the fact that this could not have been done without the support of you, all my fellow Kenyans, and still recognize that there are more roads to be built. Regarding ports, our founding fathers saw them as gateways to regional and international markets. Apart from the port of Lamu, which we have added to our number of ports and which will change regional trade dynamics, we have also re-envisioned the port of Kisumu. This port was built by the colonizers, but collapsed at some point. We have since, working together with local leaders, revived it for strategic purposes. Lake Victoria serves both the northern and southern corridors. And with this port, Kenya can serve the region from Mwanza to Bukoba in Tanzania, to Jinja and Entebbe in Uganda, to Muhoma Bay in Rwanda at affordable costs and decent timing. Beyond serving the region, the port is poised to also promote the shipbuilding and repair industry in Kenya. It will also catalyze the development of other small ports. And what I'm proud of most is that we did this revival with dead capital. And in this I mean, we redeveloped this port using local expertise and material. Turning to railways now. This is where my biggest critiques reside, but that is okay, for they are not alone. They are in fellowship with the colonizers who called our railway the Lunatic Express. But those who called it the railway to nowhere did not realize at that time that they were describing this great city of Nairobi. Nairobi indeed at the time was nowhere when the railway was being constructed. In fact, it was nothing but a swamp. And that is why Sir Charles Eliot, the man who supervised the building of the railway, observed, "It is not uncommon for a country to create a railway, but it is indeed uncommon for a railway to create a country." End of quote. Nairobi, and indeed most of our country, were created by the railway. And that is why, apart from the SGR, I am also reviving the defunct Nairobi-Nyanyuki railway line that traverses 6 counties. We are also in the process of rehabilitation of the Naivasha to Malaba meter gauge line, which is also about to commence. This rehabilitation of these central railway lines is part of a bigger development strategy to link the hinterlands, not only of Kenya, but of our region, with Lamu Port, our port in Mombasa. And that is why the Southern Sudan-Ethiopia transport corridor continues to remain important. I believe that when this happens, then Kenyans can expect new markets to emerge along these railway lines and new cities to blossom in response. The second example of unfinished business from our founding fathers regards the dignity of our people. The freedom struggle was about liberating Kenyans from the poverty of dignity, amongst other freedoms. 3, to fight what the founding fathers called ignorance, My administration has carried out extensive reforms in the education sector to make it more competency-based and to allow our children to be better prepared for future jobs. We have secured the place of pride in the continent as the home to the highest transition from primary to secondary education on the African continent. Additionally, the technical and vocational training is taking root as we seek to reposition our human resource for the ever-evolving world economy. But the human side of these reforms has also focused on electrification. We have connected 99% of all our schools to electricity. And as we did this, we also realized that a substantial part of learning happens at home, even in better days. That is why we were motivated to do our last mile program, connecting homes to power. For the record, it is indeed worth noting, fellow Kenyans, that after 78 years of colonial rule and 50 years of independent administration, only a total of 4.5 million households in Kenya were connected to electricity. But from 2013, and in only 7 years, we have connected close to 3.5 million households, bringing the number of households connected to electricity close to 8 million. This means that we have done...
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the political command center of Punchline Africa's Dr. David Matanga. Right in the studio down in Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
And then our correspondents down in the city of Nairobi, again, Daniel Wesonga. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Mathanga, Miriam, and Patrick Mpambe.
And then Patrick Mpambe, he has introduced you already, is our radio man. And don't forget, Radio Punchline Africa is always 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days in a year, sending music to our soldiers in Kismayo, in Mogadishu, wherever you are, enjoy the music. Thank you very much. This morning, we have one cardinal principle to look at: what ails Kenya? What ails Kenya? What kills Kenya? What breaks Kenya? What makes Kenya hit wrong headlines worldwide? There are very good people in this country. There are good men and women in this country. But when it comes to elections, these women run mad. These men run mad. They talk about elections all the time. They want elections. Elections is one of the tenets of freedom of humanity. A human being must first secure his life, secure his food, secure his infrastructure, secure bread. Even the Bible says you cannot live on bread alone, but you cannot also live without bread and also without elections, without seeing the society you are in. What happens here is what we don't know. Why Kenya all the time, after every 5 years, Kenya seems to have a problem. Every 5 years, Kenyans are very peaceful with each other. But once you announce the date of elections, people start sharpening their pangas. This show, therefore, is the People's Court. The People's Court, is a show which brings out, we want you to talk to us. As we also talk to you, talk to us. The telephone number is +254 795 638 145. The show, the question, the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Will he achieve the legacy? How far is he? 700 and something 90 or 780 days. Something left for us to say bye-bye and a new leadership comes into place. How will President Uhuru Kenyatta leave a nation? How will he leave a legacy? What is his legacy? That's what we want to talk about this morning. The People's Court this morning visits certain areas of the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. The big four: housing, manufacturing, food security. He mentioned them. Where are we today? Plus the pandemic, which is health, universal health care. Kenyatta spelled out universal health care as if he knew something was going to come. A visionary leader who said, let's start this term, this second term, let's do something about our hospitals. President Uhuru Kenyatta was very clear. One man went on disturbing his agenda. And I will never leave that guy until he apologizes politically, publicly. He can apologize to the president. But for us who had hopes in an agenda to be delivered, the deputy president let us down. That's a charge sheet in the People's Court. This is the People's Court. He can swing, he can win an election, he can become the president of the Republic of Kenya, but he destroyed the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He started campaigning too early. He failed to help the president realize these type of things that we are going to talk about, under which Miriam and the rest other people are going to line around. There is no shortcut of condemnation. There is nothing that you should hide. After all, correction, condemnation leads to why are people taken to prison? For them to change behavior. Why is the punishment there? For you to learn from the past. Do we want a war? Do we want a war like the Second World War? Who wants a Third World War today? If you went to ask people whether they want a Second World War or a Third World War, nobody will accept. Because we have learned a story from there. We have learned something that is painful. Experience from the past has led us to learn something that is very bad. We needed hospitals. Instead of doing politicking, the deputy president politicking from one stage to the other, from one church to the other, instead of helping the president to do universal health care. Today, we are only running to get ventilators. Today, we are only running to fix some things. We could have been prepared had the deputy helped the president to fulfill the legacy the dreams of their manifesto. Jubilee Party killed itself, inflicted wounds that are self-inflicted, not from opponents, but the party itself destroyed the legacy. How do we correct in the 700 and so days left? How does the president correct the legacy? He, section of his party joined the gang of David Ndii to harass him on the railway to nowhere. You saw him yesterday telling you they are part of the colonizing gang that joined the chorus to talk about his railway SGR. Just as there were gangs those days who opposed the railway to go up to Uganda. When it was built, stories were talked about this East African railway, the railway to nowhere. There was somewhere a kingdom that was well organized, a kingdom that was writing in its own handwriting and letters and singing their own songs. There was a kingdom that was well organized in administration, in governance. That's why the railway went there. Then if there was nothing up there, why did you colonize Kenya then? And then you gave Uganda a protectorate. We became protected as Ugandans. Kenyans were colonized. But people said the railway was going to nowhere. Today we see the same people talking about the SGR going to nowhere. That is now on section 2 of the Big Four, SGR, infrastructure, the roads. How far has the government done these roads? This is the people's courts. They see my analysts, what they can say. When we come to food, the president gave the same responsibility to the people who went and imported maize from Uganda and Mexico. They destroyed the vision of Agenda 4, food security. I want to be very honest, and I have no regrets. Mr. John Clark, you can go and hang on the tree if you want. But we have to say the truth, John. You have been here with me. I don't have any feelings. I don't hide any. He destroyed the farmers in the Rift Valley. The clips are here. They bought maize from Mexico. I did not buy maize from Mexico. Perhaps you have been away for too long in the United Kingdom, where you live, and you don't know what took place down here. Look, what type of unity is this, which you can have when you are damaging other people? The legacy of the president was damaged. That is on food security. As I predicted, breaking news coming out from State House. You know, I'm always bringing you some good news. I stand firm in this country. And I say what I say will never be. And I thank God that this happens. Duale survives. Why can't my panel clap for me? Surely.
Yeah, you said it's here earlier on.
Not clapping? Because I said it.
Yeah, and Dr. Matsanga, wait.
Miriam does not accept that I say it. Surely. On this same show, can we bring the clip? I told you that I, David Matsanga, if I was given time, if I was a member of the Jubilee Party, I would retain Duale. And I would fire the following, which just happened. Hallelujah. So you tell me I'm stupid. You can call me stupid. I don't care. Because Duale has never insulted Uhuru. Duale does not belittle Uhuru. The rest of these Nicopums belittle Uhuru every day. They go to churches, Uhuru. Where Uhuru? Duale can have a relationship with Ruto. Who stops you to have a relationship with Raila? I have a relationship with Raila. When we meet in the gym, we have a drink somewhere in Kempiski. But when it comes to siasa, tunaenda kila pale. But now we are together. So I am happy. I want to announce the list, the chopped, the unchopped. Breaking news from State House in Nairobi. I was right. And may God help me to remain like that. Woo. Hey. Jubilee Party National Assembly officials. The following to be retained. Speaker Munturi, Honorable Cheboy, Honorable Jimmy Angwen, new office bearers. What? Nikubaya, Honorable Adeni Duale, Majority Leader, and Deputy Majority Leader is Jimmy Angwen. What? Chief Whip, Emmanuel Wangwe. Hey. Mwanawengo Wangwe. Majority Whip is that. Deputy Chief Whip, Maoka Maore. Deputy Majority Whip. What? My. Imekuwa kali. Cecilia Barire shipped out. Mr. Washari shipped out. Developments are going on. Breaking news. As you stand, Mr. Duale, I told you, I said in fairness, in all fairness, don't touch Duale. And I want to thank the Jubilee Party boss for listening. Don't, because he is not involved in these cheap things, but he's involved in other things. Those ones are behind his closed doors and his cupboard and offices. But on the party, Duale was harassed. He tabled motions under hostile climate. Jubilee Party, you have done very well. And I hope this now brings unity and brings us to where things can end. Oh my God. Hey. Goodbye.
All right, so with the new changes there at the Jubilee Party, of course, Jubilee Party had convened a meeting, I think, at State House this morning, and we've seen there the changes that have been made in Jubilee Party. So the meeting yesterday during the celebrations of Madaraka Day at State House in Nairobi, where Deputy President William Ruto and the President Uhuru Kenyatta were seen to be catching up and having a good time. Perhaps some Kenyans had thought maybe this could signal a new beginning and maybe some people would survive, but was it too late?
It's not too late. Mm-hmm. It is too late exactly. And the following people have survived. Another news, you know, I'm getting it direct here.
All right, share.
Ichungwa, he begged mercy. After the food, he begged mercy.
Hold on.
You know, people lie on the stomach of the king you walk.
But we hope he's gonna change now his ways.
Doctor, can you complete that breaking news? I want to hear that. What are you saying?
Dwale, Cheboy, Turi, Ichungwa, Moses Kuria.
Done what?
They have survived.
Ichungwa begged for mercy. When did that happen?
It just now. They have survived the job.
The same Ichungwa where the cabbages and all of that were taken. I'm still trying to... Okay.
No, it's not. You know, there's something, according to this, there's something which is very clear.
Okay.
Now, the theory that Moses Kuria is it can be seen. You have been hearing. I don't want to complete this. You complete. But
I think, Dr. Matanga, I think Moses Kuria has been beaten in his own game. Going by the tweets he tweeted yesterday, he was suggesting that him and his allies had been sacrificed by the party. Now we would like to see how he'll play out on this, because now he has survived and part of his allies have gone. Will he still continue holding that position, or will he relinquish it back to the party for another person to take over?
I think they were just, the president must have left them to resign themselves.
Yeah, let them do it out of principle. If the politicians.
The discipline now has been whipped. The discipline has been whipped into the party. With this new leadership of Angwen, Angwen is not a person you can wrestle easily.
Angwen, yes.
Angwen, yes, is not a person you can wrestle easily. So if you bring in good motions, you need Kuria to see his own cross as he falls. Because anybody standing in Gatundu South, even if it's a below age, will defeat Kuria in the next elections. So you don't need to flog him. I know at night he must have crossed and cried. So he's usually like that. I know him for a long time. So, but these are some things that are very good. Mutua, you have asked me a question, but I'll not answer here today. At that time, yes. And the former prime minister has not hidden that he has never worked with George Soros. He worked with them, and they told you openly that they used to call him for conferences in the US with Kofi Annan. So there's nothing that I said which is wrong. I don't know whether he's working with them or not, but as far as I know now, he doesn't. The other new group that has gone there. So does that answer your question? Fine. Next. Let's move on, Miriam.
Yes, let's move on to our topic today, even as we look at the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and also yesterday during the Madaraka Day celebrations where President Uhuru Kenyatta led the country. And of course, it was an unusual celebration. Usually it's pomp and color in a stadium somewhere, and President Uhuru Kenyatta has made it, has been very intentional in taking these celebrations all over the country. So this year's celebrations were meant to be happening in Kisii, but due to the prevailing circumstances with the COVID-19, it was difficult to have that there, but we had a smaller, virtual celebration at State House grounds there, gardens there. And so yesterday, Doctor, and we mentioned this in the earlier, even as we look at President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy there, and these MPs who have been opposing President Uhuru Kenyatta from his own party, from his own backyard, now we saw them coming out and saying, we support this handshake, because this handshake, according to President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, were the means to finding and forming a peaceful and more inclusive Kenya moving forward, and to create a better country for the future generations. And they have been opposed to this, and now they're coming out and they're saying they're supporting the handshake, they're supporting the president agenda. And we know a lot of politicking has really been derailing President Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. So with this new support, which in the morning we casted, Doctor, you casted some doubt on it. We're not very sure if they're genuine or not, but time, as Patrick there said earlier, I think will let us see if at all they're genuine or not. But with this new support, assuming they're just coming and they're actually genuine in supporting President Uhuru Kenyatta's agenda and the handshake, what will this do to President Kenyatta's legacy?
Look, the legacy is a very good thing that Kenyatta brought about. But, Mr. President, these people injured your legacy. They wasted 2 good years. Actually, 3 good years. We are left with only 1 year and some months. Clear. We haven't 2021 and 2022. This is just 1 year and some few months. They said almost 2, let's say 1 year and 9 months. Because 4 months will be in preparation for so many things. Mm-hmm. You have to get a register, you have to do the campaigns. The best thing that we can do, and let's straighten up our sleeves, is the referendum. Let Kenya never try an election in this country. Whether you delayed. Whether you delay the elections, Kenyans, now a new parliament, a new leadership has come in the parliament. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Please rush through these reforms. I'm speaking now as an academic. Forget about psychophancy. Because some people call me a psychophant. Yes, I can be. I don't care. But on Kenyatta, I just like the work he does. I'm happy. He's a very humble person, a very good person. Otherwise, some people here, had they been in my republic, I don't think they would even be walking on the streets. They do a lot of bad things at night against the president. But the president has never abbreviated anybody. He took a step and shook hands with the leader of opposition. That has never happened anywhere. I have tried to negotiate the Zimbabwe. That small boy, that small boy in Zimbabwe, to meet Mnangagwa. He's always running like a mosquito. He disappears. So you can see the type. If you got the president, in his office, he tells you, but David, what do I do now? The guy doesn't want to talk. Uhuru Kenyatta made one good step that Kenyans must always thank him for. The unity. And that's why the president is hinting on the constitution. This one is going to go. It is going to pass. The first thing that we must do, and those watching me, remove Chebukati. Remove Chebukati. Mr. Chebukati should not be anywhere near your election. We want peace. If you want peace in this country, remove Mr. Chebukati. Let him go home or pay him now. He goes. Force him out of office. Because he's manipulating. He's manipulating elections in Kenya. As we speak now, he's even selling signatures. You didn't know. He's selling signatures to a certain group. And we are aware. In days to come, you are going to see people coming up with signatures. Chebukati is selling our signatures, your signatures. They have sold them for money. The purpose is to frustrate President Uhuru Kenyatta's reforms of BBI. Let it come. If you hear it again this week, you will know Matanga told you. Then you can tell Chebukati, whoever has heard, he's selling signatures. George Soros, Akombe, Chebukati, Akombe. You people in Kenya, that's where your enmity is. That's where the Waterloo of this country lies. Akombe has never forgiven Kenyans. She is in the United States, but she is ever wounding Kenya. Akombe, together with some other people, a man like Uhuru Okot, is a thief, is a buyer of signatures in this country. Let him accuse me that I said he bought signatures. Then I will show him all the videos where he bought these signatures and how he bought them.
And could he even account for the membership of his party? Where does he get the signatures if he doesn't have members?
Now that Duale has come back, and now that the party has got powers, the legal committees, remove Chebukati. Is another lawyer who is very confused. He sells the country. He sells signatures. IEBC is selling signatures. You say it, I said it. I have evidence, video. All the meetings that they have been taking, every place they have been doing, Uhuru Okot is not a good person for this country. It's George Soros. He wants to scuttle President Uhuru's plans of a better Kenya. And George Soros is funding him to do so. There are people who said Matanga was loudmouth on George Soros. Now loudmouth me. Loudmouth me. You see what George Soros is doing. If George Soros can pay people in the United States to kill people on the streets, what about you, black man, in Africa? Yeah. Yes. Signature buyer and the signature seller. All IEBC names purportedly have been sold to one political party here which is claiming to be an opposition. They want to scatter Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. That's why they are accepting, thinking they can go that route. So remove Chebukati, sack him. Get Chebukati out. President Uhuru Kenyatta talked of elections, of constitution.
Yes.
Change the constitution to give the parliament the powers to get rid of some of these institutions. When the people of Kenya, whether they collect another institution together, they get a form, an IBC, but not Chebukati to handle election. Chebukati is a conduit of Akombe.
True.
So Akombe is in George Soros' nearby office. She's a visitor with George Soros' executive director. They are actually intimate. From the reports of my man on the ground, if you didn't know, Mimi tena Gopa, America, I can go there. I don't need visa. That's what utanifanya nini? What can you do? Do I need a visa to go to America? No. If I want to go, I go. Utasema nilifanya nini? Nakwambia wazi. Are they not keeping George Soros? Are they not? Is George Soros not overthrowing the people? Is George Soros not buying
Yes, yes.
So let the president, let Jubilee Party know.
All right, Daniel, we've seen to add on what Doctor has said yesterday. I don't know if you watched that, because we've not looked at President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy for a while now. So I was just trying to. That is the topic we have today. So when these members of Parliament, who has been very critical of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the decisions that President Uhuru Kenyatta has made, especially that of handshake and moving, and the manner in which President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to move the country forward, they've not been in agreement with that. But yesterday we saw Akihika come out and say that we remain loyal to President and support the handshake and even the building of bridges initiative. What is your take on that? We talked about it in the morning, but you're not here in regards to President Kenyatta's agenda. What do you make of that move?
I think, Miriam, this is a time of reckoning, and reality is beginning to trickle in amongst those dissidents who have been opposing the president and the Big Four agenda. And it's high time now. I think those members of the Tanga group have realized that the long hyped journey to nowhere has come to a very miserable end in the desert, and all the ambitions of maybe ascending to presidency of their paymaster has disappeared, and now they have to go back to the drawing board. And for a majority of them to fight for survival and save their skin, they have no otherwise than to support the president. There's a saying that goes that whether the frog falls on fire or fire falls on the frog must burn, and this is the case scenario. So they got no otherwise. They are between a rock and a hard place. So that is a tactical retreat to perhaps save their own positions and whatever packages that comes with it.
All right. And what Doctor was talking about here, of course, the changes when we see at the BBI and the draft report. I think we had been looking at it here before the break of COVID-19, that now we have to focus on that. But we've been talking about it so much here, the draft report that President Uhuru Kenyatta received some times back last year. And when you see the 9 points agenda there that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga believes if that can be taken care of, then the country can be set on the right path. But that BBI seems to be missing one thing, and that is the electoral changes that perhaps we require, because we know all the violence that happens in this country comes from our electoral system, and now we have established that electoral system, the way it is here in Kenya, might not be serving this country right, or I don't know, maybe because on the other hand, we really don't have like strong institutions. It is something, a weakness we have across Africa. So how, moving forward, can we change our electoral process so that every 5 years, Kenyans, we don't get anxiety? And also, President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday did not even hint. He came out, and I think he made it in plain black and white. A referendum is inevitable.
Yes, I think, Miriam, having electoral reforms is a very, very vital precondition for any progressive nation to have a very peaceful election and give the country a very able leadership. And to add to what Dr. Matsanga said, there is a very, very urgent need to clean up the IEBC, starting with the chairman, Wafula Chebukati, and all those people who are perceived to have interest in the electoral process of this country. So there's much need to, first of all, clean up the IEBC, bring on board a very competent and a team highly perceived to be of high moral and integrity standards. As it is right now, Wafula Chebukati has defiled the moral compass, and his office has been accused of very gross corruption misconduct. And they need to clean them up. They need to send them home and bring on board a new team that will be able to oversee Kenya through the next dispensation, that is from 2022 going forward. So I agree strongly with the sentiments that Dr. Masanga has brought on board. The IBC has to be cleaned. We need to have electoral reforms before we go to the election, so that we move away from the perennial issue of contested elections that have always plunged the country into a precarious situation of violence.
Patrick, the same question.
And thank you, Miriam, for this opportunity. And this is where now what you call collaboration, dialogue, and unity comes in. And at the end of the day, if we don't do that, then we shall say that if you have not done enough, then we have failed in our responsibility. This is the time to remove all the obstacles that have been distracting our country in democracy for the past 30 years, the way you have seen that the BBI report has stated. And I stand with the fact that BBI report is going to do all that, is looking at all the issues that have been affecting the country. And therefore, if there's any obstacle that has been perhaps making the country to lag behind politically, economically, or socially, then we must first of all recheck that. Mm-hmm. And we must cooperate as a country. Leaders must come together. If we don't come together, then that will be a gesture that we are failing. And therefore, I've also seen a positive outcome there from the government, that at the end of the day, above all, we shall rise.
All right, Doctor, the front pages of the Daily Nation today says why Uhuru wants to change constitution, with President Kenyatta saying he discerns a constitutional moment that will bring an end to violence experienced in every election since 1992. It's now not a matter of if, but when legal reforms will come. Doctor, legal reforms, do we require those in this country at this point in time?
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Why does President Uhuru Kenyatta want to change the constitution?
Mm-hmm. He said the country needs legal reforms, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Every expert in the world on political science, whether you bring Angel Gabriel to come to Kenya and supervise, oversee, and detect the birth of the son called Jesus Christ through Mary, as Wesonga would say, bring the child. There will be stars in the sky. You watch the stars and know that the direction is in that hamlet. Will tell you one of the problems of Kenya, one big problem of this country, elections. They are very good people, but they kill during elections. They buy pangas. They hate each other. They burn property. They come to the streets. Like the next subject we're about to see, which is burning in America. The President of the Republic of Kenya has a constitutional right in the next remaining years to drive the Constitution of Republic of Kenya towards dynamism. After all, during the 2010 constitutional making, of which the same man called Ekuro Ekot,
Ekuro Okot.
I don't know, Ekuro Ekot.
Good.
Was the chief executive officer.
Absolutely.
CEO of the constitution, yes, which he made and left loopholes.
Yes.
For making money 20 years to come or 10 years to come. He has started making money with a normal first one-man briefcase organization called Third Way
Alliance.
To Hell.
And
he went around the country buying signatures, same people signing 2 million times, 1 million times. People were busy, and I told the Kenyans here to watch that one day the truth will come. Mm-hmm. And the people did not listen to me. Now he's busy using George Soros and Akombe. They have had 72 telephone contacts between him and Akombe in this month only of May, discussing the value, how they will, in fact, what has saved us is Corona, COVID-19. Akombe, Ekuro Ekot, Mr. Chepkati, and another man in the commission are thieves, are liars. They are selling your names on a fake bill. Ekuro Court has been paid huge money to buy plots, houses around Nairobi for concubines. Let him say he doesn't have them, and I will show the house. And me, I don't talk without facts.
And maybe just to chip in, Miriam, you know, when Dr. Matsanga talks about the signatures, you know, a while back, it took the NASA coalition, which was a coalition of more than 3 parties, almost 4 months to collect 2 million signatures. But for Third Way Alliance, which has no even non-members in this country, it took them 2 weeks to gather 2 million signatures. So that is very suspect. And perhaps now vindicates whatever allegation that Dr. Matsanga is holding against IEBC and the Third Way Alliance party leader, Ekuro Okot. The coalition is there, and that is something that should be taken seriously. And perhaps that's why the IEBC need to be cleaned.
Right.
Yes, Sean, if I may agree with you, remember, yes.
The president, according to this newspaper, the president wants to change the constitution. But Ekuro Okot wants to frustrate the president from changing the constitution.
Who is Ekuro Okot working on behalf, Doctor? Do you have any ideas?
who is working on behalf of somebody who is within Jubilee.
Do we have a
They
name
have been
or?
working, they have been meeting, they have been exchanging so many things. Me, I don't hide. I tell the truth to save my man. My man is Uhuru. I don't care about any other person. I'm sorry. If Uhuru ceases to be the president, you'll not hear me talk here. I'll go home. I respect all Kenyans, but I respect the president.
And
So I supported the president.
Yes. And speaking of which,
And I
Doctor?
let me tell you, Miriam,
Yes.
whether in Kenya or in South Africa or in Zimbabwe
Yes.
or in London, I will support Uhuru Wingai Kenyatta. I don't care about any other person.
And we see it's like a remnants of Jubilee days back. There, I see President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy even color coordinating, including the ties and the suits there. I don't know, is the bromance back there?
I am not bothered whether there's a color. They can even
Just
wear
on
the
a light
same
on a light note. It's just
On
a
the light
coincidence.
note. Yeah.
Yes.
They can wear.
Yes. They used to merge. They used to coordinate, color coordinate. Yes,
But
when
this
things were
one-
good.
They used to coordinate, but the deputy president goes to stab. He goes back to stab the president. The legacy would be there. The deputy president would win the vote in 1 minute.
Yeah, true.
The
And
deputy
even
president, if he was not childish, and listening to advice of mediocres who stopped in South B, that they were doing school of journalism. If you will listen to advice, this country would be very far. We would not be
Doctor,
right here.
Kenya Institute of Mass Communication is not mediocre. It produces the best journalists. I refuse to receive
Yes,
that.
school of those
I
who went
refuse to
in-
agree with that.
Miriam, I agree.
I did
Maybe
not say-
maybe some individuals exhibit that, but the school is not mediocre.
did not
It's the
say
best
Miriam.
in the country.
Miriam,
Yes.
I am not saying this.
Miriam, I agree with you, but when looking at the transcript of Dennis Itumbi,
Yeah.
he terribly
So
failed at
let's
the
just deal
mass
with
communication.
Dennis Itumbi as not a whole institution. He's not Kenya
Yeah,
Institute
he
of Mass
failed at the
Communication.
Kenya Institute of Mass
It's
Communication.
the best.
You can't. Look here.
Yes.
I'm not saying the school is bad.
It's not mediocre. We have to agree on
I
that.
mentioned the school is bad. I said people who went there like a tomb.
Yes.
Have I mentioned Miriam?
Yes.
They are bringing the bad reputation to the
To
institution.
the institution.
Yes.
It's just
But
individuals.
the school is not bad.
It's the best in the region. It's better than
Yeah.
University of Nairobi when it comes to media training. Believe, yes.
I did. Ghanaians come here.
Yes.
I've not refused. But there are mediocres who go there. So is it my problem that you are created with a mediocre brain? Should I give mine?
They say an
I
errant
wasn't
child
describing-
brings a bad name to the family.
No, I am just describing the manner in which the DP relied on advice
The
of
people. Yeah.
who injured the legacy of the president. The president went to shake hands with Raila Amolo Odinga. Instead of supporting him and Raila Amolo Odinga, the deputy president went a different route, supporting churches,
Yes.
as if they have told him God is already there down in one of those churches. Once you touch the church, you will see the salvation. Most of us pray the way he prays. And God at times gives you what he has given you. He has given me to wear this nice shirt. I'm very happy to him. To God, Jesus Christ. All the time, 5 a.m. I was praising him. That's the time when God comes down.
Okay. That's good.
I before I write these things, Miriam,
You pray.
I kneel down to pray.
That's
before
good.
I put a pen.
You get that so that you get inspired.
Direct me where to go.
Yes.
That's why I've not stolen anybody's thing in
Yes.
any of corruption scandal in Kenya.
And speaking of which,
Otherwise, I would have
And
been
and And even the Bible says faith without action is dead. So it doesn't matter how many times the deputy president quotes the Holy Scriptures, so long as it doesn't reflect in his daily life and his actions, then we won't take him seriously.
Sean, all the people you are talking about, all the issues you are talking about is all about regime change. And anybody who fights for regime change, they normally like shortcuts. Those are, I call them shortcuts. You see, the ways they're using the George Soros money. You see, when they bring it in Kenya here, it's all about shortcut to maybe to win the presidency, but it might not work for them.
Yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta,
final.
yes. Sorry. Yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta said we cannot reimagine our nationhood without changing our political architecture, and we cannot change this architecture without re-engineering our constitution. Doctor, because the draft BBI that we've been reading here since sometimes back last year before COVID-19 interrupted, there seems to be missing a few things, even as we move towards changing the constitution, as President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday said that. What are some of the things if we were to redo it again? Because I believe they were still receiving some opinion from a section of Kenyans. They're not done yet before they can finally give us the final draft, which will be taken through to perhaps be Kenyans will go and vote for it. What is a key missing ingredient, and what other things would you like the rest of you to be included in this BBI before the country goes to vote for it in a referendum? Doctor?
One, elections. That's one you must change. The method, the way, the organizational structuring, the election itself, conduct. You have too many people on the ballot paper. You need to, space your election timetable to give people ample time to vote. You need to extend the hours of voting or days. For example, you vote for the governor, senator, MCA, woman rep, MP, then the president. If you have 200 presidential candidates, how long do you take in the booth? We must look at that. What criteria do we need for someone to qualify to be a presidential candidate? We need to bring in decorum. Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Republic of Kenya must come in place.
Yes. Integrity.
Integrity. You don't need to find Mr. Sonko, who jumped a prison in Ketimawero, someplace in what is that place called?
Simulatewa.
Yes, and they came to national television and they said, it is true, I jumped.
He jumped from where?
From Chitima something. Then I don't know the place.
Simulatewa.
So, these are, Miriam, these are things Kenyans must check. You need a one man, one vote, one man, one shilling. For example, my people of Western Kenya, the Luhya nation, their population is the highest. It's the second highest population. You should actually support President Uhuru Kenyatta for one man, one shilling. Yeah, if you produce very few people, you have that money only. Proportional to the population. Equivalent. Why should some people have more when they have few, when you are using wrong formula?
True.
Wacha nizungumze kweli leo, watu wanaficha. You are in Masabit. You are 200,000 people. We give you the same money like the people in Kisumu or Nyanza or Luo or Siaya. The population in Siaya, one parish is bigger than Masabi. So why should those people suffer with the money? So there is one man, 1 shilling. A shilling for a man, for a vote. How many people are in that region? Give it. So that a shilling develop, each household will develop.
But I think that's how they allocate the monies to the counties, depending on the demographics and the people there.
They
I
don't.
think that,
Find that's why there is corruption.
and then they have the equalizing fund to.
There is corruption in that because you have brought in that equalizing, that thing equalizing. No! Watch a kid is talking direct. If Luya, if the people in Nyanza are 4 million, a shilling for a shilling, why do you bring equalizing?
Because, Doctor, there are some countries that were systematically, denied a lot of developmental, earlier in the especially during Moi's time. So they're just trying to help them catch up with the rest of Kenya.
No.
I think it's important, though.
And I think also.
No.
And I think also
so how would you like it, Doc? Let Doctor finish. Yes.
Can I explain here?
Please do.
12 million people, give them 12 billion.
Regardless of their needs and their development status.
I am coming. Don't tell me about their needs. Because those 12 million, it's not their problem. 300,000 people, give them the equivalent of billion of these 12. Then create a fund.
Equalizing fund.
Away from the distribution. A special fund. Don't bring in this formula of equalization.
The equalizing fund is the special fund. It is the special fund. Yes.
Equalization is part of the evolution. Am I wrong?
But it is different. It is given to certain counties that are in need of particular services or developments. Yes, compared to.
Remember when they have already given on the other formula. The first formula is each governor, each county gets the same money, like Kisumu gets the same as county number X on that level. Have you seen? Which is very wrong. The new format of the constitution, if you give a shilling for every citizen, so you tell the governor, don't tell us you ran short. Because you told us Kakamega people has got 4 million people. And we gave you 40 billion. 40 billion shillings. Yeah, which is being given each year, million. 40 billion each for Kakamega residents. So don't come and cry that there is a shortage of money. Isiolo or Masabit has got 1 million people. We gave you 10 billion. Each is one whatever. Calculate according to the population. What do they need? If there are government, central government projects, in Isiolo we need the airport. So how shall we reach that airport? That's the responsibility of central government in Nairobi. How we drive to Isiolo airport, isn't it? Where is this airport called?
The airstrip in Isiolo.
There's a new airport this side.
Where?
There's a new airport in Northeastern.
Oh, okay. Is it in Meru or where?
Mandela or where? Which county is the new airport?
Okay.
Please, there is a new airport here, a new one.
An airstrip or a full-blown airport? There's a difference.
No. It's a full-blown airport where
Okay.
where planes from Somalia.
From Somalia, you're right.
What
Yes.
is that airport? Wesonga.
Yes. Just
Wesonga is doing the research. Yes, doctor, go ahead.
Yes. As he does the research, the airport. There's an airport.
It is called the Caro.
There is an airport here equivalent to Eldoret. A new airport that the president commissioned recently.
Yes, I remember. I'm just forgetting the name.
In either there is Moyale, Mozambique, and which?
Wajir.
Wajir. There's an airport in Wajir. It's a new airport, big, where Somali planes come. Before they come to Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
We're checking them there first.
Yes.
So those are not small planes like the one where Songa uses to go to Kitale. It's a big airport in Wajir. So if the population, the government wants to take people to Wajir, it is up to the government to do that road. You, the governor, you don't touch anything. You only maintain and clean the signposts.
The same way the government did with the Thika Road. These major highways, the national government should take care of that.
So,
absolutely.
When you talk about changing the constitution.
Or the way they've done with the Nairobi-Kisumu Road. It's very good. Yes, highway.
Very good. Now the governors around here only clean the signposts.
They maintain the infrastructure. Yes.
And cut grass on the sides. So we don't need stabilization fund. We need a special fund to help those counties that were marginalized.
Equalization fund.
Once we put them in the main plan, we spoil the porridge.
Okay, I hear you.
That is what the president wants to change. Two, elections every time. In summary, we are running out of time. In summary, the elections, we need an election where people get unity at the end, like South Africa.
Proportional representation.
We need a system of South Africa, where if you finish voting today, tomorrow you are at work, working nicely.
Even today, you cast your vote and you go to work. That's what you do there.
You go to work. You don't look forward Wesonga to cut his ear.
True. Wesonga's
that
ear.
Is the type of election that the president is looking.
True.
If other main television stations want to talk about it because they hate the president, I, Matanga, will continue talking about it until it happens. I talked about redemption. It is here. Handshake is here. Hakuna pale mtatutoa. Lazima tupate hiyo handshake. Whoever does not board the plane, the train, we ship you out.
Doctor, you've also mentioned something very important. And handshake imepatikana, so yes, I think, and they're here, a lot of the leaders who are, they're now supporting it. That is a very good thing. But
yesterday, President Ruto was brought to line.
I just love that they were marching.
But Miriam, we hope they're gonna support
That's
you.
why we're there.
I just love that they were marching.
Because,
so maybe it's a signal for a united front moving forward.
When we talk like this, the deputy president should not be annoyed with us. And I want to take this opportunity today to tell you, don't listen to people who have not gone to school, who are near you. Please, like a Chibet, Farouk Kibet, these people have not gone to school. We say they can do some houseboy work. But please, you get good advice from us.
Wisdom.
from people who have gone to school.
But wisdom does not come from school,
But-
Doctor.
but-
You have spoiled the big money thing, Mama.
Yes.
Abba.
Yes.
You have spoiled the president. President is very good. You see, he has left everybody. Even Ichungwa, who has been insulting him, he has left him there.
Yes.
He's not a very, very, very bad man.
But he should also not go for the likes of Professor Edward Kisiangani.
No,
Those are people who have never advised
Daniel,
someone to
Daniel.
sit in power.
Doctor was
Sangani,
giving,
at
yes.
least Sangani went to school, but he went to a wrong school. So there's a difference of going to school.
And doctor, there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge you get from school, wisdom you're born with. So I think wisdom is more important. So
And knowledge impacts
you
wisdom,
get
Miriam.
no, wisdom
So
and knowledge is
cannot-
different, and that is a conversation for
cannot
another day.
override that.
But doctor, you're mentioning things that are very important. I don't want us to lose that trail as you give your points on the things that perhaps should be included in terms of the reforms that the President Kenyatta seeks to make. So very important thing that you mentioned, that the criteria for choosing the people that we elect is very important, because right now it's easy for you to get nominated and to get a presidential nomination and be on the ballot. So we have so many names outside of the money that is required. Other, the criteria is not as stringent. And Doctor mentioned the chapter 6 of that embodies leadership and integrity. How can we, Daniel Wesonga, do we think we have matured enough as a democracy here in Kenya to care about changing the criteria and how we elect our leadership here in the country?
I think, Miriam, in the long term, change is inevitable. And as I said earlier, according to Charles Darwin, he said that it's not the strongest of the species, or maybe the superior of it all, that survives to the ultimate end, but the one that is able to adapt to change. And in the long run, we really need to change our perception. We need to change, to set the bar high in terms of the kind of leaders that we elect. Dr. Matsanga has talked about the chapter 6 of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we came up with that chapter in our Constitution to ensure that we give Kenyans leaders that are up to their expectations. So any leader who doesn't measure up, then they don't have any business being in the realm of power. So I think it is high time we did that. If we want to set a precondition for development and prosperity, then leadership should be of integrity and one that is committed in supporting the national good agenda.
Values. Patrick, leadership criteria and how we change, we elect our leaders. Should that be amended should that be included in the new amendments that perhaps that will be put forth for a referendum? Should that be included in the BBI report?
Yes, the integrity piece must be included there.
We have the
because
integrity
all along
piece.
we must.
We already have it, but it's never followed. Yes.
Yes, we must stick on that, and especially you even realize that most of our people, most of the voters have been voting in people who are not having that integrity, provided they have been given something to eat, some cash, and then you say now this is now the person that can go forward and vote for. And therefore, it's very, very important to be studying also the tactics of these people that you are going to vote for. If somebody has been stealing, we must inquire, first of all, who is this person? What is his background before we vote them in? Because they will fail us at the end of the day.
And they have
been
failing us. A lot
it's not
of them
supporting the government of the day.
Yes.
See what has been happening in the Jubilee government. There are people who have not been supporting the president's agenda of developing the country. Remember, the government has been planning to ensure that it creates 1.3 million manufacturing jobs by 2022. If they cannot cooperate with the president, that means there's no achievement that will be made.
Okay. I just asked about the criteria, but thank you so much for the extra information. So, Doctor, proportional representation, and we've talked about this so many times on this show. I can't even tell you, we can't even count. And I think that is one thing that Dr. me and you have been agreeing on, because we look at we model the electoral process in South Africa. They have proportional representation where the president is not directly elected by the citizens, but he's elected in parliament there. He's nominated from parliament there. I don't know if the way we've been conditioned in our electoral process, I don't know if Kenyans are ready, Doctor, to accept a different electoral process. Are Kenyans open to accepting from what we've been seeing happening?
Proportional representation delivers harmony. It allows people to have peace of mind. Proportional representation also gives people the best choice of the best candidates. If you look at the MPs today, the caliber of MPs that we have in parliament, that Miriam, you have in parliament today of Kenya, some of them cannot interpret the constitution.
That is true, and sad at the same time.
The Republic of Kenya.
True.
Because you have chosen low-graded people. Some of them don't know what to say. Some of them are there because they were brought as stooges. So we don't have the caliber of elected leaders. But once you bring in a new constitutional framework, there are people in opposition who should have served in parliament, who should have served in cabinet. For example, Uhuru Kenyatta would like to have a cabinet where you have a very sharp brain of an Attorney General, like a James Orengo. Why should James Orengo, for example, be denied to become the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya? Because he's in opposition. That's the type of democracy where you look, okay, if you have alternative government, a parliamentary system, James Orengo would be a shadow Attorney General who checks on Mr. Kihara. Everything that Mr. Kihara brings on the table, Mr. Orengo will check him, because the office of Mr. Orengo will be almost 75% catered for, like the office of the Attorney General.
We used to have that before the 2010 constitution. We used to have a shadow government, remember? A cabinet.
Exactly. So that
with opposition,
when you have the Attorney General, you have a shadow Attorney General. You won't quarrel because your country is Kenya. You won't fight. There is a PA, there are people, there are lawyers attached to that office who do the research of the questions that the government is going to table. 2, in the new dispensation, which maybe President Uhuru Kenyatta wants, he wants a government where values, where you can choose, where you have a minister answerable in parliament. You cannot have a minister makes a mistake. He doesn't see the MPs. He only sees them in the committee when he's being quizzed. We don't have the structures of that structure of social contract in Kenya, where you can have a cabinet which a court borrowed from the United States government, from George Soros' books, and brought to the people of Kenya. What do you feed the people who don't have even a social structure? You have a minister who is called a CS. We want to go back to call minister, honorable minister. It's the thing of Mr. Cabinet what? Cabinet is American.
Yeah.
Why did we borrow George Soros' work?
Yeah, our constitution is a hybrid of borrowed heavily.
Which is wrong. So what I'm saying here is we can postpone the American thing and we finish this now.
So we stick to the British. We stick to the British thing because that other one is from the British.
Yeah, the topic we are on.
Yes.
is very useful
Yes.
to the institutions, to our agenda legacy. You need a new cabinet in the future, a government. What Kenyatta wants to set out is to have that government where a president is able to choose and the minister comes from parliament. So when the minister is answering questions, he is saying, even my constituent, but ask my sister, Amina Mohammed, where is her constituent?
She knows, I'm sure.
No, she knows it is the president. I'm giving Amina because she's my friend.
Yes.
People might say, why did you talk about Ruto? So let me talk about my
Amina,
friend.
yes.
Who is Amina? Amina's constituent is the president. Because the president can fire you, but when you have been chosen by the people, the president can relinquish power from you and you remain representing your people.
True.
And when you come with a problem, you put a question of sports in the parliament, you put and say my own county constituent does not have a football pitch.
Yes.
But now these ministers don't even know that there is no tap water in Nairobi. You are telling people to wash hands. Nairobi has got no place. There are some places where you have to get water through the jerrycans. Am I wrong?
It's true.
So whom are you going to tell? You don't know. The city council says, it's national water. The other one says, no, the water from Muranga was not pumped in plenty. Another one said, so. But if there's a minister who is chosen from the constituency, this bureaucracy will not be there. So you need changes of that nature. That people who are able, even if they are in opposition, they can be in opposition as shadow minister. That when you are going with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to London, the opposition party will also put the shadow cabinet minister to find out what you are doing there.
For checks and balances, essentially, that's what you're saying.
He might not go with you on the flight, but he must have someone there.
Hold you to account, okay.
So when the Minister of Foreign Affairs comes from London, he shares the letters from London to the leader of opposition, of the counterpart shadow in foreign affairs. At the moment, we have Namwamba who looks like a Wesonga.
What is wrong with how Wesonga looks, Doctor?
No, we only come from the same county.
Who we don't know what he does, whom he reports to,
but Wesonga
whether he does Biashara or
He's a
business.
Ruto man.
Yes, so he has been patronized. So we've lost that ministry. But if you have a change in the constitution, have an MP. One MP is government, one is a leader of opposition. You will see how Kenya will move.
And we used to have that. We used to have a shadow cabinet from the opposition, the same ministerial positions the government had. We used to have a shadow cabinet to ensure checks and balances, and that we got rid of when we promulgated the new constitution in 2010. And so perhaps that could be one of the things. But the question that I asked, Doctor, we have been conditioned into this electoral system that we have been used to since we gained our independence and since the introduction of multi-democracy. If you told Kenyans today, adopt, say, a proportional representation, do you think Kenya, we're at a place where we could be open to another way of electoral process?
Yes. And that's where we are heading to, Miriam. People are going to propose a bill. A bill is going to come. A bill is going to come. That's why you see, first of all,
realignment.
From today, the parliament begins today. Change Chebukati. Don't give Chebukati another 2 months. Sack him. Find a reason for Chebukati to leave.
Find a reason. There's not reason enough.
He's already
Oh, he's protected by the Constitution, yes. Find a reason. With Chebukati, it will not be difficult.
There are 3 commissioners.
Yes.
There are 3 commissioners left. Let's change the thing quickly to get a committee to appoint commissioners. Remove Chebukati, pay him for the balance of his years. He leaves us so that to go and write his memoirs in his chambers.
To allow for the reforms.
At the moment, to be very honest, Chebukati is not doing, he's doing mafia work.
No, but Doctor, should the investigation in the ongoing scandals that have been reported at the IBC find him culpable? There's no need of even paying him any penny of taxpayers' money. He needs to go home.
Let's cut to save Kenya. I'm telling you what I'm telling you today. You are going to see it soon. You are going to see a group coming up to say we have now got the full-scale bill. And someone who has just been to that state house has been working with this group. I got all the videos. So Mr. President, chunga hiyo. Kwangu wale wenye unasikia for the president, mwambie. There's a group of George Soros. Have you seen what Mudavadi is doing? Mudavadi is saying we are national interest group. He's creating. Mudavadi is good at creating names. He created the NASA. He created the code. You remember? It is Mudavadi who created the code. Now, he always creates it, then he goes there back. He said, I'm the only cleanest in NASA. The rest are thieves. Give me
which scale does he use to measure his cleanness when he has a scandal, the cemetery scandal on his neck?
Yes, now, after seeing, wait, what Uhuru is facing now, because Miriam brought this for us, we can kill or we can debate the question of Mr. Trump at the top of the hour for 30 minutes and we go home, Miriam. But let's do this. There's something that Miriam has asked. We are doing it for not criticizing. Let's tell people the truth. Mr. Chebukati, at the moment, is working with a group that wants to derail the handshake because they were not happy with the handshake. So what they have done, they have told the MPs who went to State House to cool down. We have another group strategy of a court coming in to bring a bill which could now torpedo Uhuru's reforms of the BBI. So Chebukati and another commissioner there they are conduits. They have been facilitating the theft of people's names on the register. DCI can investigate that. If they think I'm wrong, they can find out how a court gets these signatures. There is evidence, serious evidence, that the money has changed the hands from George Soros. So that's why you see Mudavadi now goes to position himself that a group of national interest And you see every time Mudavadi starts speaking, he speaks the Kenyan citizen, the ordinary citizen. When you hear somebody speaking like that, know he has eaten some money. In Kibura, you saw his candidate, how many votes he got, and what type of violence he brought.
A very crooked fellow. And looking at Musalia Mudavadi, while he perceives himself an economist, he was the MP of Sabatia after his father. What has he done for the people of Sabatia? We still have schools there, dilapidated schools in Sabatia. We still have people who are living below the poverty line. What has he done in his backyard so that he wins these credentials of serving as the Kenyan president?
And we have the same in Baringo, and we have the same in other countries. But I don't want us to lose track of the topic of today, because I think there are issues there that Dr. brought that are very important, and also the rest of your. So I want to ask the same question I asked a doctor. What are some of the things that you feel, I don't know if you've seen the draft report, the BBI report, and me and Doctor, we've been talking about it here for the longest time, and even after the draft report came out, but what do you feel, in your opinion, Daniel, and also Patrick, that could be included, that has not been captured in the BBI draft report? I don't want us to lose that.
According to me, Miriam, I think I've gone through the BBI reports. And as far as my position is concerned, I believe everything has been brought on board quite impeccably. And I think whatever it needs now is that push and momentum to emphasize on some more important areas, like Dr. Matsanga said, the areas of electoral reforms. Though that should be the basis.
So electoral reforms, what would you like reformed?
Yes.
Like on a point, what would you suggest to be reformed in our electoral system here in the country?
First of all is a section to ensure that there is integrity in leadership. And that is what the president's second term has been all about, bringing integrity in leadership, fighting corruption, and ensuring that people who fall short of the bar of leadership do not make it to public office. And second thing is the issue of representation, which Dr. Mansanga has quite well articulated there, of one man, one vote, one shilling. So this has been a very contentious issue that has been bringing about divisions among Kenyans. So whenever these will be sorted, to ensure that everyone feel that they are well represented in every level of government, and they feel that they are sharing the national cake equitably as their neighbors, then probably we're going to have a very united, prosperous country.
All right, Patrick, the same, and please just stick to the question. The reforms.
Thank you. So what stands out here is after the positions have been filled here, the position that were suggested in that particular draft, how are these leaders going to stick on bringing the glory of Kenya? The glory of Kenya is what even our forefathers had targeted, that Kenya should be at the best place ever. So it's very important when these leaders come in, they should be able to be accountable. Yes, to be accountable and unite for the good of the whole country. With as much as they are representing their people, their voters on the ground, here when they come to the national government, they come to the county government, they should be cooperative to push the agenda of the government. Not that when they come in, they start disuniting, they start separating, they start forming other coups like we are seeing right now. That's very important, being accountable.
Okay, so accountability should be part of it, but we've seen, because what really brings this problem a lot of issues, the country a lot of issues every 5 years, is our electoral system, the winner takes it all, electoral process that we have, that if you lose, you lose. If you win, you take all. You go with the lion's share, and that has been a problem that has cost us and plunged this country into chaos. And so obviously, our electoral system, the way it is today, is not serving Kenya at best. And so perhaps a couple of things needs to change, and that's my question. What are perhaps some of the things should they put in place in terms of how we conduct our elections? What would you suggest to the president, even as he considers, the reforms? As he said, the country requires a constitutional and legal reforms.
Me.
All right, sure. I see Patrick is still thinking. So, Doctor, you are the walking dictionary. Yes.
What I would tell the president,
yes,
if I were asked now, one, the voting pattern, stagger the voting pattern, elect the president, then elect MPs, maybe on the same day to form parliament, then stagger the governorship and the rest of these other places. They can elect later. But elect the areas, change that section, elect the parliament, which will now swear in allegiance to the president. Senators, governors can have their day, because this is like a second tier government.
Yes.
Why are we putting it? It's not second in terms, that is number 2.
But it is.
It's another tier of government which deals with formerly local government. So when you have local government competing with the central government on the same day, and the elections are held on the same day, chaos. That's why many people end up not voting. Because the queues are too long. We cannot do a scientific election in Kenya today. It's impossible. COVID-19 has also arrived. We must think of the future type of elections. We need to waste more money. How many days shall we take to have a population of 25 million people going to the polls, electing a leader at a free distancing? Because this thing is not going to end today. Remark you, social distancing is not going away, Japan. It will take a long time for people to start. Soon it will be even you run away from your own children. Some areas things are happening like that. Children are separated in another house and they are this way. There is no shaking hands in the morning. People are doing that. So we must think ahead of what might happen. 2, I would tell the president to scrap the powers of choosing the chief justice. Then the president have some serious. Then why should you choose a man who is going to lock you? Who is going to take you to committee? If it is truly the Constitution of United States of America, which we copied some things, why did we give powers of sacking a chief justice to some other ways? Yet the chief justice, you see, the party cannot deliver its mandate when everything is blocked in the court.
But that was to safeguard the institutions, the independence of the institutions.
You can safeguard the institution, fine, but the chief justice must be your appointee. You recommend to the parliament that I have sent Miriam as Lady Chief Justice of Kenya. If you have a problem with her, return her to me. Or tell me, I look for another one. In this place, the president has no powers at all, even to tell the Chief Justice Maraga that you are not sentencing people. He's leaving the office without sentencing one mafia. No mafia has been sentenced. And tell me now that we are happy people. Maraga is leaving the way he came, the way he has left.
Daniel, are we a happy people in regards to, yes?
Not really. I think Dr. Masanga is raising a very, very valid point there. And when you look at most developed Asian countries, when they are beginning, they gave the presidents the power to choose a chief justice, because you understand, Miriam, political goodwill is such an important aspect of governance that serves to ensure that the president has the right people in his behind his back to ensure that his agenda is propelled and achieved whatsoever. So when you have a chief justice or maybe the judiciary that does not work in coordination with the executive, when you have media that does not propagate a good agenda, does not report good news about the government, then as a president, then you're going to have a very, very hard time implementing your agenda. And
but the media, its job is not to report the good about the government. You know, the media's work is to take government into account. So that can never be good. Can never be good. But also, it should be balanced.
I totally agree.
In terms of balance, I agree. Sometimes it's not very balanced. So perhaps they focus more on the negative. But you know, but it's not the media's job. Yes.
Okay.
Madam William.
Yes.
The scene. Look at Jubilee Manifesto. From 2013, Jubilee said they will bring laptops. The judge called Odunga. The first month, alituletea kisirani. He hammered the laptops. Okay, you can blame Uhuru Kenyatta. Fine. Let's look. If you don't change your judiciary, no government here will ever perform 100%. Odunga, one man called Chief Justice Odunga.
Yes.
Because he was annoyed. He's from an area where the Mudavads are now creating even more chaos. To call them, it comes from there. You know, we have supplied people to people. That Matanga comes from Bungoma, is mine. I come from Eldoret. I am Ruto. You know, when did you have a human being who is yours?
Ethnicity should not be playing in our justice system.
We want a judiciary where judges are not activists, but they are real judges. So the president should change that constitution to get real judges who sentence you as you are in the van going, you know, really he has hammered me. I was wrong. But the judgment, the judiciary now, hey, it is fixed by Harvey, Nelson Harvey. Is the new boy is the new man fixing. Nelson Harvey is a political animal, not a president of LSK. If you can see what he's doing on Twitter,
yes,
you know he's now an opponent of Uhuru Kenyatta.
The other day he was being roasted on Twitter for the same reason.
Uhuru Kenyatta to deliver any reforms. Nelson Harvey is, as if you have such a man, which the judiciary will deliver. Miriam, zero.
All right.
So, Odunga cut us laptops. Odunga cut stadium. Odunga cut us SGN. You remember, I can mention you over 40 projects.
Odunga cut the stadium? That's a long conversation.
Yes, and maybe
just
come on board.
Yes.
Okay, I am talking the truth here.
Yes.
Odunga cut all these things. He put injection on all Uhuru's
projects.
When Security agencies here wanted to arrest terrorists. Odunga refused. If there are governments that operate like other places, they would have sent these terrorists near Odunga's house. Other governments operate that way. I'm telling you, you see the man who stopped. That's why I like Duale. Duale stood in parliament. People poured urine on people. We have these guys here. We have forgiven them of what they did. They poured. The late died. The late deputy speaker. You saw people going to the toilet and putting. This is not very good. Duale stood all that insult. Odunga blocked the security law. By now, people will not be bombing us twice. They came again in Duset because of laxity. You are free to buy as many these cards. And in Ethiopia, for you to buy a SIM card, it is better you go and steal a bank than buying a SIM card in Addis Ababa. Every phone that is in Ethiopia, the SIM card and the phone, even if you leave this one, you know what? Even if you leave this phone, iPhone, you leave it on the train, go back to the collection center where they found lost property. It will be there because nobody can put his SIM card in there. If you have gone to report at the police, they will catch the person. That was the law that we wanted to bring. People wanted, the Jubilee government wanted to introduce here. Odunga blocked it. Which law he hasn't blocked. So the president needs to change that, the way of appointing these judges. Why is he refusing today to sign some judges? Because of the same. The law is very bad. It has given him judges who are thieves. And they have sent you a file of a thief to sign him to go and thief again. So he should strengthen that. Lastly, as we switch the subject to Atlantic across the bridge, where I have now discovered new information. The president should never hold an election here and analyze. Matanga is telling you, Miriam will tell you, Wesonga will tell you, Patrick will tell you, if you hold elections the way we are and allow Mr. Chebukati to pretend to masquerade around like a frog in a fish's pond, trying to do a fake election that is selling documents and signatures and names to people to put a bill to stop Uhuru Kenyatta. There will be chaos for us in East Africa and Africa. Jermaine, we need a stable Kenya. That's why I'm talking and my voice is going.
All right. Okay. Get some water. Get some warm water there, doctor. And
a stable Kenya,
yes.
Miriam, I've got it. Don't change. It is there. A stable Kenya gives Uganda food. A stable Kenya transports Uganda's goods. A stable Kenya buys Uganda's property, vegetables, maize, carrots, onions. That's why I'm pleading that you change the situation. Love Kenya, love President Uhuru Kenyatta, give him a legacy, let him be sent after he has finished his term, if there is a new constitutional arrangements, why are people fearing a referendum now? Because whatever you decide now is null and void. Whatever you decide now is void. The other thing is null and void. If, for example, Miriam, before we leave, if the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya in 2021, they do a referendum and say they want to change it to parliamentary, we come back to square one. Uhuru is clean to be part of the parcel of the presidential elections or the parliamentary system. What's wrong with that? No, even if you go to Angel Gabriel, who sits always closer waiting for who is going to produce a child, Mary or Susan, you know? It is done. Uhuru will have the right to take part if he wants, because he would have decided as Kenyans. That's why people are now, you know, Atwoli did not start a constitutional law, but he's a very wise man in some of the things he says. You people have not seen that. Very wise man. Because he has been internationally exposed. You see, when you walk in 122 countries in the world, you are exposed internationally. You don't need textbooks much. You only add on English, French, German, Portuguese, Spanish, bonjour, allez, oui, à la maison. Oui. That one alone can make you have water in Paris. Mm-hmm. If I say we, somebody will turn around to say, then you do this food. Okay, food, come. You need to have international exposure. But you cannot lead Kenya without international exposure. And don't get that international exposure through George Soros. You can get it through sober ways of following Uhuru Kenyatta and land into this seat nicely. Why people fear Raila Odinga? He's internationally exposed. He has lived in hardship. We have been in trenches with him. We have gone through punishment. He's changed the passports. Look at the qualifications. There's no better politician in the world who uses his name. Even Museveni is not the real name. Are you shocked today?
Yeah, true.
Because you are persecuted. If you have ideas, you are persecuted. I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. There are people who God has given speciality to look at your vision. Even if you are keeping quiet, you are not there, they say it was Matanga. Even if you are not there, they said, no, it is him. Did you know that there's something like that? It is him. Then they say, no, this has happened. It is Miriam. Six years ago, Trump advocated for the killing of 6 black people. And I think, let me spare this for the next show. I've finished now.
All right.
Because what I was going to say touches the diplomatic links.
The next topic, yes, and they're
Yeah,
called,
we
yes.
finish it in 25 minutes. We give ourselves 30 minutes, Miriam.
I'll make sure we stick to that. Our viewers shall be back.
Yeah.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.